Okay, I see that Jatoy is here and Rashanika is here. Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let me go here and start sharing. Let me do a share screen. I'm looking at your screen. I don't want to do that. I want to share my screen. Okay. All right. Let me come here. All right. So if you guys want to go ahead and turn off your video and audio, we'll go into chat mode if you want to talk to me. And make sure you have your telephone on mute if you've called in, so I can't hear the background. There we go. Okay. All right. So you should be able to see, again, the splash page of our classroom. And what I'm doing right now is I am pre-recording a meeting for week number 3, which is next week. And again, the reason that I have pre-recorded week number 3 and yesterday I pre-recorded week number 4 meeting is because I am traveling starting late on Wednesday, and I'm going to be in some areas that won't allow any sort of a live streaming meeting. At least I'm told that the internet probably won't support it. So rather than take a chance and not be able to get this information to you guys, I am pre-recording. So for those of you who are here with me this afternoon, once we're done, I will go in and I will post your attendance in week 2 and in week 3 so that those grades will already be there. But for everybody else who is going to probably view this as a YouTube video, you will need to go into the area in week 3. Let me scroll down here and show you where it says week 3 live session, and you will need to go ahead and post your response there. Okay, so let's take a look at what you will be up to next week in week number 3. I really like the assignments that they give you guys here in this class because it is a good overview of a lot of the different things that you will see as you are learning the skills of a paralegal and as people talk to you, because when they find out that you're studying paralegal, people will want to tell you things and they'll want your opinion on things. And again, we just got done with week number 2 talking about how it's very important that you don't cross that line and be giving legal advice, because that is for attorneys. But here is a friend of yours telling you that she wants to be a paralegal and that she knows the law is the Constitution of the United States. And you have been doing some research and some reading, and you're learning about what it takes to be a paralegal. And you are learning that there are many different sources of law. And you want to start telling her some of the other sources that she ought to be familiar with. Now, while the Constitution of the United States is, of course, a very strong set of laws, so to speak, for our country, it's not the only game in town. The Constitution, you have to remember, of the United States deals with federal laws. We live under something called federalism. Federalism is the idea that all of us in the United States live under at least 2 different types of laws. Federal laws that come from the people in Washington, D.C. making law, and also state laws, the laws that are made by the legislators in the state where you live. And the first thing that I would probably tell my friend is that state law affects your daily life much more than federal law does. Everyone gets really excited about what's going on in Washington, D.C., and what Congress is doing or not doing, and if they're fighting with the president or not. But you have to remember, the Constitution of the United States is a constitution of very limited scope. The founding fathers carved out just a few powers to give to the federal government. If you look at the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it says anything that we haven't talked about here in this document is left to the people and the states. So that basically means that anything that the federal Constitution doesn't deal with, your state constitution and state laws will. The state governments have something called police power. Police power is the power and the responsibility of your state to enact laws that have to do with the health, safety, welfare, and moral well-being of its citizens. The federal government does not have police power. So if you really want to spend some time learning laws, you would be best to spend time learning about what your state legislature is doing. So that's the first thing that I would probably tell my friend. The other thing that I would tell my friend is that constitutions are not the only source of laws. That constitutions give power to legislatures in Washington, D.C., and in the capital of the state where you live to make laws. So you need to look at the statutes in your state and the federal statutes to actually see what the written down, what we call codified law, looks like. So while constitutions are a good overview of some of the rights that we have, really you have to look at the written laws of the federal government and the written laws of the states, and these are called statutes, statutes. Those are where you really need to see the substance and the wording of laws. Also, if you remember from some of the things that we talked about in week 1, there are many other sources of law. Cases are sources of law. Once a case has been decided and has gone to appeal and has been through at least the appellate court, that becomes what we call precedent. It becomes precedent for other cases with the same kinds of facts in that jurisdiction. If the United States Supreme Court hands down a decision, that is binding upon every other court in the country, because the United States Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. If your state Supreme Court makes a decision, that means that every court in that state must follow what the Supreme Court of that state has said. If it is a state appellate court for a certain part of the state, then all of the other courts in that court's jurisdiction will have to listen to what that court has said and pay attention to their ruling. www.uscourts.gov is a good resource for you to go out and learn how the federal court system and your state court systems are set up, so that you can start seeing what courts have jurisdiction over the lower courts below them. Other sources of law, remember we said, are things like cases that happen outside of your jurisdiction, maybe in a different part of your state or even in other states. Those are sources of research and persuasive information when you are trying a case in your jurisdiction, but they don't count as actual laws that have to be followed. They are just persuasive. What people write in legal encyclopedias and opinions about cases, that is also persuasive information that you can use to argue your point, but it is not hard and fast law. Law really comes in the form of statutory law, and that's laws that have been passed by either the U.S. or your state legislature. And then the other big source of laws is going to be cases. And your constitutions obviously give an overview of the rights that people have. Okay, so that is a little bit of information about your discussion board. Any questions about that before I move on to take a look at your paper for the week?
No, ma'am.
No? You're okay? All right, Jatoy, okay?
Not sure yet. I'm still trying to take it in.
You're just taking it all in? All right, okay. That's a good place to be at this point. Now, again, you are going to have next week to do your readings, and you can come back and listen to this. Again, this will be posted as a YouTube, and if you want to come back in and listen to it again, you'll have the link, and you can do that. And maybe when you get into week 3 and have done some of the reading for the week, it will make even more sense to you. All right, let's take a look at the assignment. You also have a quiz that is due in week 3, which is the typical way that the weeks have been laid out. So your week 3 assignment for Sunday is, again, a paper, and we're looking for 500 words, and make sure you're citing your sources. And this is going to be very important because this quote-unquote paper is really you writing a letter to your friend to talk about alternative dispute resolution. And one of the things that you need to do in your letter is to cite at least 5 sources that he can use to do additional research. So this is going to force you into doing research out on the internet about alternative dispute resolution. What is ADR? Well, ADR is an alternative to going to court and having a court make a decision for you. I was a certified court mediator in Florida for a few years, and I really enjoyed being a mediator because I used to tell people, look, in mediation, you get to be part of the solution, not just part of the problem. If people have a disagreement that ends up in court, obviously they were part of the problem. But if you go to court and ask for a judge or a jury to make a determination about your case, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We live in a system that is adversarial. That means when you go to court, somebody wins and somebody loses. So when courts make decisions, usually what happens is somebody walks away from the proceedings very happy, and somebody walks away very unhappy. That's the nature of having to ask a third party to make a decision for you. Our court systems in all states are very, very busy. And you don't just walk into a court today with a problem and get in front of a judge tomorrow. It can take a long time to get an actual time to get in front of a judge. So a lot of states have gone to alternative dispute resolution, and they've gone to mediation as ADR, alternative dispute resolution. ADR in the form of mediation is something that a lot of states say you must go through. So I'll give you an example. In the state of Florida, if you have a small claims issue, if you go to the court and you file in small claims court, they are automatically going to set you to go to mediation. They want to see the two sides sit down and try to work this out without taking the time and the resources and the cost involved to go to a full-blown trial. So for mediation, you go into the courthouse, you sit down with someone like myself who was a mediator, and you both tell your sides of the story. The mediator listens to both sides. The mediator does not have any power to make a decision. The mediator is kind of like, think about if you and your sibling, when you were little kids, had a fight and you went and your mother was the mediator. She listened to what was going on, and maybe she encouraged you to try to handle it amongst yourselves rather than her having to handle it or sending it up to your father, who think of your father as the judge, who was going to make a decision, and one of you may have liked it and one of you very well may not have liked it. So mediation is a chance for the parties to sit down in a neutral atmosphere with someone who is neutral, who is just going to listen to what they are talking about, and then help you come to a decision. Now, that differs from arbitration, and your task here wants you to talk about arbitration. Arbitration is where you are bound usually by what the arbitrator has to say. The arbitrator acts a little bit more like a judge. The arbitrator listens to both sides but has the power in binding arbitration to make a decision that the parties have to be bound by. There's also something called non-binding arbitration, and in that situation, the judge or the arbitrator will listen to what both sides have to say and then make a determination of how he or she feels this should play out. But the difference is, if you don't like their decision, you have a chance then to take your case to trial. Now, for this assignment, it says that you have a friend that's come to you with a contract, and he's worried because a contract contains an arbitration clause. Many contracts that people sign nowadays do have some sort of an arbitration or mediation clause set in there. Part of it is because people want to avoid the cost and the time of litigation. Again, litigation can be expensive and it can take a long time. So part of the fine print that you may see in a contract will say something to the effect of both parties agree that if there is a dispute over the item that this contract is about, they agree to go to binding or non-binding arbitration, or it may say they both agree to go to mediation to try to settle their differences before anything would be taken to a court to be handled. So that is not an unusual thing to see in a lot of contracts, anything from purchasing a car to purchasing airline tickets to purchasing a couch at the local furniture store. Companies don't like litigation. They don't like the cost. They don't like the time involved. So that is the deal. Okay, ADR, alternative dispute resolution. Settling out of court would be both mediation and arbitration. They are both ways to avoid going to a full-blown trial. Mediation can be handled privately, or it can happen through the court system. Like I said, in Florida, if you go to small claims court, you're going to find that you are going to be sent to court-ordered mediation before you would actually be set for trial. Arbitration is something that we see in a lot of contracts. Again, so is mediation. And it's a way for things to be settled outside of court. Binding arbitration means that you agree up front to be bound by the decision of the arbitrator. Non-binding arbitration means that you both are willing to hear what the arbitrator says he or she thinks would probably happen in court, and then you have to make a decision if you want to live with that decision or if you want to take it to court for an actual trial. Okay? All right. that is what I wanted to talk about for your 2 assignments that you will be working on. Remember, again, you have a quiz for week 3 as well. Any questions from either one of you? Again, I know it's a lot of information, and the idea behind these meetings is to just give you kind of an overview. Again, you'll be able to listen to these again when I make them into YouTubes. Once we're done with the meeting, it records, and then it takes me a little bit of time. I have to go out into YouTube and upload it. And then once I have a YouTube link, I can post that in the news form, and you're welcome to go back and listen to it again. Okay? All right. So Rashnika and Latoy, any questions about what we quickly went over for week number 3?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
You said that the ADR will be settling out of court with both mediation and arbitration.
Yes, yeah, the 2 different types of alternative dispute resolution are mediation and arbitration.
Okay, it's just two types. 2 types of ADR.
Yes, there are 2. The whole idea of not having to go to trial for something is called alternative dispute resolution, because if you think about it, going to court that's the ultimate dispute resolution. You're going to let a third party make a decision what's going to happen. But again, the thing with that is it's an adversarial system, and so someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. The concept behind this alternative dispute resolution is let's not clog up the courts, and let's give people a chance to maybe, especially in the form of mediation, take care of an issue themselves without the expense and time and the that goes with going to court, and also with someone coming away feeling like they've totally lost once a decision is made by a judge or a jury. And it just so happens that there are 2 main ways that we define alternative dispute resolution. The 2 different ways that you can have an ADR is through arbitration or mediation. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Jatoy, any questions?
I'm actually pretty good. It's just that in the beginning there were some things that I actually didn't get a chance to hear because you went through it so quick. But I can always just go back to the video and
I think once you do your reading next week and you go back and listen to what I've said again, I think it will be more helpful even that next time around.
Okay. I mean, but everything was pretty clear. Just that some stuff I didn't really hear it.
Okay. All right.
But everything else was pretty good. I mean, the ADR thing was, I never knew that.
Yeah. It not only does it exist, but it's becoming much more popular. And like I said, going to court's expensive. It takes a lot of time, and it's a slow process. ADR can be a lot quicker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this meeting now, so I can get the recording uploaded, and then later on tonight I will turn these into YouTubes and get them posted up so that everybody who was not here can listen to it. Again, for those of you here live, I will post your attendance for weeks 2 and weeks 3, so that's already taken care of. And then week 4 is already recorded for you to listen to during week 4. And then I will be back during week 5. And when I get back, we'll look at scheduling the week 5 meeting for a time one evening in case people have questions about the final exams. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else before I let you go?
Nope.
Okay. All right, then take care, and I will be checking in with emails and doing grading and everything when I am gone, and I will look forward to talking to you again in week number 5. Take care. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.